In a single night, more than 150 American aircraft went dark over Caracas. For years, the Pentagon all but called this man untouchable. A $50 million bounty on his head, a coup-proofed fortress, an army sworn to die for him.
So how do you take the most protected man in South America out of his own palace, in the dark, in under 3 minutes, without losing a single American? In January 2026, they did exactly that, after rehearsing it hundreds of times on a full-size copy of his house. 10:46 p.m. The order.
3:29 a.m., he's gone. Everything in between, minute by minute. Welcome to Curious Monkey. Tonight, the 2.5 hours that ended an untouchable regime.
First, who he was, and why for years no one could touch him.
To understand the raid, you first have to understand the box he lived in. Nicolas Maduro, a former bus driver who inherited Hugo Chávez's socialist revolution, didn't just hold power in Venezuela, he had made himself impossible to remove. Under him, the oil economy collapsed and more than 7 million people fled the country.
His 2024 re-election was rejected as fraudulent by much of the world. But Maduro never ruled by winning votes. He ruled by owning the men with the guns.
And to Washington, he wasn't just a dictator. He was a drug lord. In 2020, the U.S. Justice Department indicted Maduro for narco-terrorism, running a cocaine network called the Cartel of the Suns, and conspiring, prosecutors said, to flood America with cocaine as a weapon.
The reward for his capture would eventually climb to $50 million, the highest the United States had ever placed on a sitting head of state.
So why not just grab him? Because Maduro had spent years making himself coup-proof, layer upon layer of security. The intelligence service, the military counterintelligence, a Praetorian honor guard, each watching the others, each bound to him by loyalty, money, or fear. Indictments and bounties, analysts agreed, would never be enough.
To reach the most protected man in South America, someone would have to go in and physically take him. And by the summer of 2025, the United States had quietly decided to try.
So the United States began to squeeze.
It began as a buildup, and it escalated month by month. August 2025. American warships and thousands of troops pour into the southern Caribbean. September, U.S. forces begin blowing alleged drug boats out of the water. October, the CIA is authorized to operate covertly inside Venezuela. November, the aircraft carrier Gerald R.
Ford arrives, pushing U.S. strength to roughly 12,000 troops on nearly a dozen warships, the largest American deployment to the region in generations. Week by week, the ring around Maduro was closing.
But a fleet can't arrest a man hiding behind concrete. That was the CIA's job. According to reporting in the New York Times, a small American team had quietly mapped Maduro's pattern of life, where he slept, when he moved, across a half-dozen safe houses, helped by a source close to him.
Officials say they eventually learned the one secret most of his own guards never knew, which building the president would actually be sleeping in. Slowly, the untouchable man was becoming a target with an address.
And then there's the detail that sounds like fiction. Somewhere in the United States, the army built Maduro's house. Not a model, the house. A full-scale replica, reportedly down to the same steel construction, where for months the assault team rehearsed the raid hundreds of times. They even practiced cutting through a sealed steel safe room with heavy torches.
Trump himself later described it. By the time they were ordered in, they had stormed that house more times than they could count. The real one would be the first time it mattered.
There was even a phone call. About a week before the raid, Trump personally called Maduro and told him, in effect, to surrender. "You have to go." By some accounts, Maduro came close to agreeing. Then he stayed.
It may have been the most expensive hesitation of his life, because the order was already drafted, the aircraft were already moving, and the clock had started.
Friday night. The clock starts.
Before we watch it unfold, meet the people who went in. The ground assault belonged to Delta Force, the U.S. Army's most secretive counter-terrorism unit, reportedly around 200 operators. Flying them in the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers, whose creed is simply, "Night Stalkers don't quit."
Behind them stood the CIA, who had found the target, and an FBI hostage rescue team carrying the one piece of paper that made this an arrest and not an invasion, a federal warrant.
10:46 p.m. Eastern. Friday, January 2nd. From Mar-a-Lago, the word comes down. Good luck and Godspeed. Across roughly 20 bases, more than 150 aircraft are already turning. Stealth fighters, Super Hornets, even heavy bombers. The carrier Gerald R. Ford holds station offshore.
And somewhere over the dark Caribbean, the Night Stalkers lift off, carrying Delta Force toward Caracas. Operation Absolute Resolve is live.
2 a.m. in Caracas. The sky tears open. In under 30 minutes, U.S. aircraft shred Venezuela's air defenses. The airbase at La Carlota, the fort at Fuerte Tiuna, the port at La Guaira. Then a coordinated cyber strike reaches into the power grid, and the lights of the capital simply go out. At least 7 explosions roll across the city.
A city of millions wakes in the dark to a war it was never told was coming, and under the cover of that blackout, the helicopters come in.
Skimming barely 100 feet over the water to stay under the radar, the Night Stalkers, Black Hawks, and Chinooks race for the coast. At 1:01 a.m. Eastern, 2:01 in Caracas. The assault force reaches Maduro's compound inside Fuerte Tiuna, the sprawling military base in the heart of the city.
As they come in, one of the helicopters is hit by ground fire. The pilot holds it together and keeps flying. Below them, Delta Force fast ropes into the dark. The raid is on.
Inside, breachers hit the doors. Flashbangs. The steel doors, the same ones they had practiced on 100 times, are gone in seconds, faster than anyone expected. Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, wake to chaos.
Officials say the couple scrambled for a sealed steel safe room and in the panic bumped their heads bloody on the doorframe before they could reach it. According to the reporting, he never made it inside. 3 minutes after the first door blew, the president of Venezuela was in American hands.
There was no organized fight. He got bum-rushed so fast, Trump would later say that he never reached his hiding place. By 3:29 a.m. Eastern, the assault force was feet wet, back out over open water, with the president of Venezuela in custody. From the order to launch to mission complete, about 2.5 hours.
The most heavily guarded man in South America was gone from his own capital before most of it even woke up.
And it nearly went another way. A later CNN reconstruction found that the whole raid hinged on roughly 2 minutes. A transport helicopter sitting exposed on the ground, caught in the crossfire between American jets and Venezuelan air defenses. 2 minutes of pure, unhedged risk.
And when it was over, the American casualty count was the number no one expected. 0 killed.
Then the world found out and couldn't agree on what it had just seen.
Maduro was flown to the USS Iwo Jima, an amphibious assault ship waiting offshore, not, despite the headlines, an aircraft carrier. At 4:21 that morning, Trump told the world on Truth Social that Maduro had been, in his words, captured and flown out of the country.
By Saturday evening, the prisoner transport touched down at an airbase in New York, and by nightfall, the man with the $50 million bounty was sitting in a cell in Brooklyn.
2 days later, on January 5th, Nicolas Maduro stood in a Manhattan courtroom and pleaded not guilty. "I'm still the president of my country," he said through a translator. Back in Caracas, his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, was sworn in to lead for the next 90 days, condemning the capture as, her word, barbarity.
The sitting president had become an inmate, awaiting trial in the very country that had hunted him.
And President Trump made America's intentions plain. The United States, he said, would run Venezuela until, in his words, a safe, proper, and judicious transition, and American oil companies would be moving in. The reactions split the planet. Russia called it armed aggression. China condemned it. Brazil's president warned of an extremely dangerous precedent.
Others cheered. Argentina's Milei, El Salvador's Bukele. Legal scholars were sharper still. A sitting head of state, they argued, had just been abducted from his own soil, with no clear precedent in modern law. Whatever else it was, the world had just watched one government reach into another and carry its president away.
In a single night, the untouchable man became an inmate. A $50 million bounty, a coup-proofed fortress, an army sworn to protect him, all of it undone in about 2.5 hours. The question now isn't whether it happened.
It's what it means. For Venezuela, and for every leader who ever believed a border could keep him safe. If you want history broken down like this, minute by minute, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.